that stuff. So, but
Yeah.
I'm feeling way better.
Fair. It was so
Mhm.
I had COVID over Christmas. I drove all the way up to Chicago and I
Mhm.
started feeling a little weird, like actually right around Memphis. I was coming up on Memphis and I started feeling weird. And I was like, well, I've been in the car for like 9 hours. Maybe I'm just tired, chalk it up as that. And then I get to my grandma's house and I slept for like 24 hours straight. And just to feel my dad come jostle me is like, hey, you got to get up. You got to shower. We got to go to your sister's. It's time for Christmas. And it's like, okay. So I get up, shower, and my dad and his fiance throw like a mask at me and they're like, here, put this on just to be safe because my sister has a 1 year old. So I don't want to get the 1 year old sick. Like that would just be the worst. And so we go there and my sister's like, wait, do you have COVID? And I'm like, I have no idea. I'm just not feeling 100%. She's like, here, and she throws like two COVID tests at me and she's like, here, you have to test right now. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I tested and yeah,
Did
that
you
was
get
that.
kicked out of Christmas?
Not that night because I was already in. So they were like, well, whatever. But I wasn't invited to Christmas Day. I wasn't invited to Christmas Eve. And so I was
Oh
just like,
no.
I'm gonna go home then. Like I made it through like the initial 48 hours. I'm gonna go home. And then that way at least I'm comfortable.
Right.
So,
Right.
it's one of those things. But we're just going to kind of roll into this one. I kind of like it when we do this, where we just roll into the podcast. Really appreciate you taking the time. We have Krystal King joining us here on the podcast, coming to us from, what is it, a foot of snow in Nashville at this point, or
Just
was it not
about.
quite that bad?
I don't think it's quite that bad. Probably
Yeah.
maybe like 8 inches, maybe 6 to 8.
Still, still pretty
I
bad
don't
for
know.
Nashville. Still
Something.
pretty bad. So, but glad you're not an igloo or a frozen popsicle or any of that
No.
stuff. So
Nope. Staying warm for sure.
awesome. So what's been going on? Like, and we're gonna talk about your new song that you got coming out on Friday, next Friday as we're recording this. Once
Oh
it
my
gets
gosh, it's
released,
next Friday. Yeah.
yeah. I was sitting there. I was trying to do day math, which sounds really weird, but trying to add numbers to find out what day it's going to be. It's yeah. So
I was trying to say, I was like, what's day math? I mean, I've heard of like girl math and all that
yeah,
stuff, but
yeah. Day math is where you try and figure out what date it is and then how many days away it is, and yeah. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. I'm glad that you said that because I didn't even realize it was only a week away, which is crazy. I got to get my button gear and get ready. But yeah, no, I'm super excited. We started the year off with a bang. Third day of the new year, did Today in Nashville was
Mhm.
like a news channel,
Mhm.
WSMV channel 4 in Nashville. So I performed the song and premiered it on live television, which was super cool. Um, and then we filmed a music video that Saturday. I just got back a few screenshots from that, so I'm super excited to see it.
Nice.
Yeah, and then just gearing up, doing all the promo and stuff for the release.
That's awesome. So will the music video drop on the same day as the song or later?
It'll be later.
Okay.
Um, yeah, with the holidays and everything, we got a little bit behind on actually getting it recorded.
Hmm.
It's just hard to nail that down during November, December. But I kind of like releasing it a little bit later because then you can kind of just draw out the release. You
Yeah.
can make sure they're going and streaming the songs. Because you don't want the two battling each other, like
Yeah.
all the videos stealing the streams or all the
Yeah.
Spotify pulling away from the video. So it'll be probably 2 or 3 weeks after the release.
Fair enough. It's one of those things that kind of, like you said, it gives it like second legs almost, and
Right.
like a second resurgence, which is always, I guess, this day and age is what you're always looking for is how to keep
Hmm.
the song at the top of
Yeah.
the algorithm. So
Yeah, and it's cool too because I think by dropping it a little later, it gives people the opportunity to kind of create the video in their minds. They get to make their own interpretation of it.
yeah.
They get to they get to have the song as what it means to them,
Hmm.
without the video interfering with that. And then when the video comes out, it just kind of elevates that experience.
Yeah, for sure. 100% agreed. It gives them the ability to draw a personal attachment to the song. And then later on, they find out, oh, this is what the artist really meant, or,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So
Yeah,
that,
and for this video, we didn't do like a full-on storyline. We kind of just did pretty images. There's this
mhm,
cool house in Nashville. This lady, she's a costume designer, but
mm,
she just really likes, I guess, interior decorating at her house. So she has all these rooms that are kind of staged, like she lives there, but
yeah,
the rooms are kind of staged for photo shoots and video shoots. So it's just kind of a really cool place.
nice. I was going to ask, did you light a house on fire for this? But I'm going to say probably not.
No, we almost caught a cat on fire. There was,
Okay.
I think, like 49 candles is what I was told, because we lit a bunch of candles. We did have like some Zippo lighters and like,
Mm,
um, burning a photograph and things like that. But the cat at the house came walking through, and of course was like flicking its tail amongst all these candles, and we were like, oh no, we're gonna catch this cat on fire. But luckily that did not happen, and
mhm.
all is well. I did I forgot to bring like some things to actually burn.
Yeah.
um so I was like digging through my purse. So I do have to apologize to my cousin, because I definitely burned her Christmas card because it was all I had.
Hey, that's all right.
I mean, nobody knows. You can only see the other side.
Fair, very fair. It's so funny that the cat was just willingly walking up next to the candle, not a care in the world. It's like,
No,
no,
just like
we're
sniffing it.
right. That's cat. I don't know. Like, I have a thing about cats. I don't really, not that I don't like them, because when they're around, they're fine. I just don't want them in my house. But stuff like that scares the hell out of me. So, you
Yeah,
know.
I like cats, but I've never owned a cat. So like I appreciate them, I like them, but I don't understand them. And I just like dogs because they always like you.
Yeah.
They're always happy, and they're
Yeah.
not moody like cats.
You always know where you stand with the dog, whereas a cat will sit there and judge you for 3 days and then decide if they like you or not.
It'll let you pet it, and then the next thing you know, it's biting you. So like
Yep. Yep. That's how my sister's cat is. It won't come near me for 3 days. And then the day that I'm getting ready to leave, all of a sudden the cat won't leave me alone. And then it's like, where were you at 3 days ago when the dogs wouldn't come near me? Like all these things, but it is what it is. So the name of the song is called House Fire, which is why I asked if you lit a house on fire. Um, what's kind of the overall story of the song?
it's about a woman who is just kind of frustrated and upset about her home life. She's
Mm,
feeling kind of stuck and kind of hopeless. Um, and it doesn't have any super pointed things about what's going on. That's still kind of left for interpretation, but
mm,
it's just about her kind of feeling stuck. And so a lot of the images at the first part of the song kind of show her as like a domestic housewife. She's sweeping, she's folding the laundry, but she's like thinking this whole time, she's like, I'm not happy, like, but I'm just gonna push it away.
mm,
um and then in the chorus, that's kind of her being like, I don't know, one of these days I'm gonna like burst, and I'm just gonna set the house on fire. um so yeah, so it's still very up for interpretation, but obviously she's very unhappy in her home life or her marriage. And um it wasn't anything specific like personally for me, but I
mm,
think for me it was just kind of like diving into those deep emotions. And
mm.
I love dark classic country storytelling, so this was sort of my opportunity to take part in that.
Fair. How long has this been kind of in the works?
Oh gosh, I've had this song for probably 3 years, maybe.
Okay. Mm,
I've had it for a while. So
nice.
I had the idea of just the line, I don't smoke, but I got a lighter. And I took it to my friend, Stephanie Joyce, who is like the perfect person to write a dark, tragic country love song with. Um, and so she hopped on board, and she had an idea that was called House Fire.
Mhm.
So we sort of just merged those two things together, because I had the line and didn't know what to do with it. She had this hook but didn't know what to
Yeah.
do with it. So we kind of built the story off of that. Um, and then it kind of, I would sing it out for a year or so. And I decided I definitely wanted it on the album, but the album was like a 2 year process. It was kind of a long,
Yeah.
a long process.
Fair. Very fair. It's so what was it about the song House Fire that it was just kind of like right you wanted to kick off 2024 with it?
Well, I felt like it needed to be a winter song. It was kind of
Yeah,
a
fair.
dark, sad song, and I just felt like, winter's a good time to um to delve into some of those dark feelings.
Fair.
Um, but yeah, I this song is one I've loved for a really long time, and so I just figured there's something special about this one.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not quite sure what it is, but there's just something that as soon as we wrote it, I was like, this one's special. I was kind of worried with it being dark that people wouldn't like it, but it's actually been one of the ones I get the most feedback on because people are like, no, it's just
Nice.
like honest and real. Um, and so I think starting out the new year with just like one of my favorites is just the
Mm.
perfect way to do it, even for my own just
Yeah.
fulfillment.
Yeah. So this is a song that people have heard, like you play it when you play shows, you'll play it at a show.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay. Do you find that your music has, I don't want to say better success. Do you find people have more of a connection with music that you kind of road test, for lack of better words, kind of road test before you release it? Or do you find that if you just release a brand new song that nobody's ever heard, that they kind of have more of a connection to that?
It depends. Um,
Mm.
I always like to road test it just because you know what people like. But at the
Hmm.
same time, there's certain songs that they almost they come to life in the studio, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
they they sound great acoustic, they're great lyrically, but they don't really like hit home
Hmm.
until you like actually have the full
Yeah.
production and the full instrumentation behind it to bring it to life. Um, there's a song called Pretty Poison on the album
Hmm.
that is actually the title track, and um, it's a great song. It's got a cool vibe, but it's definitely like kind of different indie rock kind of a vibe. Um, and I didn't play it out a lot because I don't know, it didn't feel like it stood on its own as much.
Hmm.
Um, but I knew it had a lot of room for really cool production. So I wanted it on the album. It was kind of supposed to be like a bonus track
Hmm.
of sorts, where I could just kind of experiment with sounds. I could have long solos. It could be a 5 minute
Yeah.
song, and I didn't have to worry about radio play, which is the cool thing about doing an album too, because
Yeah.
when you release singles, you're always usually trying to find the ones that are going to
Yeah.
be like hits, the ones that are going to be really popular. Where when you do an album, you have room to sneak in like your artsy fartsy stuff, and just kind of have fun with it. And they might not be like radio hits, but they still bring something of value.
Fair, fair. So is this the first single for the album, or was Red Wine and White Lies part of that
Red Wine and
album?
White Lies was the first one.
Okay. Because I was sitting there, I was like, wait a minute. Yes, okay. I was trying to remember everything that we talked about on the
I
radio show, and I'm like, man, that was like 4 months ago, 5 months ago,
know,
and
I know.
yeah, and but so do you have you announced a release date yet for the full album, or is that kind of still in the works?
That's still in the works.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to release probably two more songs after House Fire and then release the full album.
Nice.
So my goal is by the end of the year, just because I feel like I've stretched it out pretty long.
Fair.
Um, but sometimes things happen, or sometimes a song is out and you're like, no, it's still got a lot of traction, so I need to like stay with this one for a little bit, or just sometimes things take longer, or just different factors. So I'm not going to announce a date yet, but it's in the works.
Fair, very fair. You know, it's always really I like I feel like I say this to every musician that comes on here. I'm an album guy. Like if I have the opportunity to sit down and listen to an album, that's the way I like to consume my music.
Hmm.
Now, that being said, I'd rather do that at home where I could just put like if they have a vinyl cut, great, that's the way I prefer to listen to it. I'll put it over here, put it on my record player and just listen to it while I'm going about my things and just kind of consume the music.
Hmm.
But I also see a world where it's like when I'm driving, just put the singles on. I don't like it's so weird because it's like, yeah, just put the playlist on and whatever comes on, that's fine. So, but I am an album guy. I love when artists just take that chance because in this day and age, you're taking a chance putting out an album because
Hmm.
you're putting out multiple songs in one shot, and it's like, okay, we're taking a gamble, but it's gonna pay off regardless. So,
Yeah.
but so how long is the album? Obviously, the album's been in the works for a little bit, but how long has the album kind of been percolating in the back of your mind?
So 2020, we moved into a house and
Mhm.
actually we were speaking about it. I was sick with COVID and I got an email or phone call, I can't remember, but from Dark Horse Recording Institute, which is like a student program that they have in Nashville. And so they had approached me about just coming in to record maybe like 3 to 4 songs with a full band. The tracking would be free. I would get the raw tracks, like the
Mhm.
students would mix it and master it, but I
Yeah,
could also just get the raw tracks and take it to somebody else.
yeah.
Um, so I was like, well, I wasn't really planning to do a bigger project, but
Hmm.
like this might be a good opportunity
Yeah,
to. But then when I got to picking songs, I was like 3 or 4, I don't know.
fair.
So somehow I decided, um, I was very confident in this, but I chose 7 songs. So I was like, yeah, we're gonna do 7 songs in 4 days. We got this. Um,
Yeah,
and it obviously took way longer than 4 days.
yeah.
Um, but we did go in and we got the basic tracks for 7 songs. But that was kind of the moment that it kind of started spinning my wheels was when they called. And I was like, you know what? This might give me the opportunity to get a bigger project done
Hmm.
without breaking the bank.
Yeah,
And so that was kind of what started that.
fair, fair. You're starting to make me realize that I maybe need to take a little bit more time when we record music for people because a couple of years ago we did a songwriting contest and the grand prize winner we would record them a free full length project like a 10 song LP or
Wow.
whatever. And so the girl that won came down from Montana. I was living out in New Mexico at the time, and she came down from Montana. She was like, "Yeah, you're in Roswell, New Mexico. I'm going to come down and celebrate aliens. So let's do that." And we recorded a 10 song LP in an hour and a half. And
Wow.
it was literally, but like, I mean, it helps when it's just her
Mhm.
singing and it's a keyboard. And so she's got a direct out from the keyboard. And then so all we really have to worry about is or the mic for her vocals. And that was it. So,
That's
you know,
awesome.
it's one of those things where it's like, we recorded it, but it wasn't that big of a deal. So,
Well, and I did this in a very hodgepodge fashion. Like most people, hire a producer, there's a plan, there's you know, this was sort of I called some people up, we rehearsed twice and kind of came up with an outline. And then we were like, all right, we're just gonna go in the studio and see what happens. And um, some of it turned out great, some of it did not. And then we just took what we had afterwards and kind of replaced some stuff, fixed some stuff,
yeah,
changed some things here and there. And but it turned out really cool. I think we got like a really original sound by doing
yeah,
it that way. but
Hmm.
I did take like the long way around.
Okay.
Um, but I think from the moment that I like got the idea in my head, like that was, so I guess that was 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, it wasn't until like it was like 6 months later by the time I actually got in the studio. So I had like
Mm.
6 months where I was like, okay, I need to pick songs. I need to make sure I have them polished and down. I know the structure, have all the lyrics tweaked,
Mm.
have other people listen to them and change them, or if there's any holes in the album that I'm like, I need this kind of song to fit in it. Actually, there was one song that I didn't write until probably a month or so before we recorded.
Hmm.
It was the Mind Your Own Backyard song. I was like, I really need like a Murder My Husband song. And I had this idea and took it to my friend Stephanie Joyce. And I
Yeah.
like I knew before we even wrote it that it was going to be on the album. I was like, we just have to do it right. But this one's going to be on the album.
Nice. It's like you just had a feeling about it, kind of.
Yeah, I had realized I had House Fire. Red Wine and White Lies is a cheating song. Um, I think Let It Fade was one I chose that's kind
Mm.
of a breakup song, and Doggone was a leaving song. So I kind of just decided to make it this sort of a theme of this, relationshipy, angsty album. And so I kind of picked songs that fit that mold.
Hmm.
And then I was like, I need something like, I don't know, a lighthearted murder song. And I had this line, "Mind Your Own Backyard," in my head. So we went from there.
I'm kind of excited to hear that one now. Like I
It's
don't know, the weird songs like that that are just a little quirky and
it's quirky.
yeah, a little quirky like that. I'm all about. Like I have a whole playlist of just random quirky songs that
Yes.
so
Yeah,
it's
it's definitely
amazing.
quirky.
Nice. Nice, nice. Um so this is your first this will be your first full-length album.
Mhm.
You released a three-song project. Is that even an EP or is that more just like a deluxe single? I don't even know anymore.
I
So
think it's an EP, but
yeah. Uh, so you got this full-length project. What's kind of running through your mind right now as you're in like full-on release mode and just kind of trying to get this project across the finish line?
I'm just excited. I did a lot of the work like leading up. Like that's why it took me so long, was because
Mhm.
I did a lot of the graphics and the photos and
Nice.
all that stuff ahead of time. So yes, still like videos I have to make, and I'm still planning like PR and everything. But I'm mostly excited because I kind of set up all those dominoes, and now I'm getting to like actually get it out into the world. And I've been so ready to have these songs out. So yeah, I'm mostly just pumped about it.
Nice. 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 Ever since we met back in ever since we had you on the Hoedown Showdown back in October, was it?
I think
I, I
so.
I'm trying to remember now. Like I literally just looked it up, but that was 30 minutes ago, and now my brain's just kind of like, yeah, we're in the conversation.
I
Facts don't
released that
matter.
song August 25th, so I would say it was probably like September or October.
Yeah, it was probably September. That sounds about right. Um, so ever since we made that first connection, I've been listening to your music and I've been waiting for that right time to bring you on back on, a fuller capacity. Because obviously with like a radio show, everything's very time constraint driven. And it's like, yes, it's my show and I can produce it the way I want to, but still you have to kind of play within a
But it's your
certain,
radio.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how often are you playing shows right now? Are you like obviously with full on release? I mean, you've got a million things pulling you a million different ways, but how consistently are you playing shows? How often?
Still really often,
Mhm.
usually like 2 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
Or as far as like if I'm counting like things like this,
Hmm.
I'm doing like 5 or 6 days a week.
Fair.
Um, but with like just in-person shows,
Hmm.
probably 2 to 4,
Mm.
depending on the week.
And the weather.
Yeah,
And
and the
yeah.
weather.
Because I'm assuming like Nashville's got to be pretty shut down right now, right?
I think so. I think there's still shows going on, but
Hmm.
it just varies.
Yeah,
I had one earlier this week that got canceled,
yeah,
and um I have some this weekend, so we'll see how
yeah.
that goes.
Fair, fair, fair. Um, yeah. So how's obviously you're based out of Nashville, but we you're originally from North Carolina. How's Nashville been treating you over the last couple of months and into the new year here?
We really love it. We bought a house like 3 years ago,
Mm,
and we live kind of south, like 30-40 minutes outside of
yeah.
Nashville, but we really like it. And Nashville is just like it's full of creativity and full of
Mm,
people who do what I do. Um, so it's really nice to be able to be surrounded by that.
awesome, awesome. I'm starting to realize a lot of people say they live in Nashville, but in reality they live in
They do.
they you know 20-30 minutes outside the city, and it's like, huh, that's good to know. Not that the
Yeah,
property values are any cheaper, but it's yeah, still
yeah,
better than living
yeah.
in
And
Nashville.
where we lived was a little better price wise, but I think we also just we like living a little bit outside of the
Fair,
hustle and bustle.
fair, fair. How long have you been in Nashville at this point? I think I asked before, but
6 years.
6 years. Oh man, you've seen Nashville grow. You like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know it was way different even before I got here, and then
Mm,
just to see it over the past 6 years is it's crazy.
yeah. What do you miss about North Carolina that you can't get in Nashville?
Um, Family,
Yeah.
my whole family's lives there, and most of my friends and stuff. So I think just the people is a huge thing, and being
Mm,
able to kind of be surrounded by that. I mean, we've made quite a community in this
yeah.
area now, but it's still kind of sad and weird whenever you go back home and you're like, oh, I miss just like I'm gonna meet up with this person and run some
Yeah.
errands, or these
Yeah.
the little get-togethers that you do randomly.
Fair.
Um, so I miss that. I also miss being in the mountain, closer to the mountains.
Hmm.
That's another thing I think I definitely miss.
Fair. Very fair. Um, now
And
is
liver
your
mush. That's kind of weird, but liver mush.
I don't
It's a
even know
North
what that is.
Carolina like breakfast food.
Okay. As I say, I'm assuming it's something to do with like liver, but I wouldn't even know what that is. So, oh man. And is your husband from North Carolina or is he from Tennessee?
No, he's from North Carolina too. We're actually from the same hometown.
Nice,
Um,
nice, nice.
yeah, we met in high
That's
school band.
s- wow. Okay. Was it like a marching band or like a concert band? What kind of band?
Um, it was both. So we did like marching band
Mhm.
in the fall, and then concert band in the spring.
Gotcha, gotcha. Was a band like a cool thing when you were going to high? Because I've learned something very interesting over the last 3 weeks. Is high school band was different from city to city. Like for us, marching band wasn't that cool. Like if you were in marching band, it was just kind of like, oh, okay. But I found in other places it was like the coolest thing ever if you were in marching band. So,
No, I wouldn't say it was cool.
mm,
I mean, we weren't like made fun of or
mm,
outcast or anything, but I wouldn't say it was cool. I think for me, marching band was at my school at least, it was very eclectic,
okay,
which was kind of cool because you had like a few kids that were like the popular kids. You
yeah,
had a few kids that were the rich kids. You had a few that were um, troublemakers. You had like some emo skater boys. Like you had a little bit of everything. Um, and so that was kind of the cool thing was because we had just a lot of eclectic groups of friends that we probably wouldn't have been together any other place except for
yeah.
band. Um,
You threw out the emo skater boys, and I was just like, I don't even know what kind of instruments they'd be playing. Like, oh my, just in the head, it was like, wow, that's an image that I'm gonna think about for a bit. So,
like saxophone or brass,
Mm,
euphonium.
that's funny. That's great. I love it.
Yeah, so it was great. I think band was a big part of my life.
Mm,
Most of my friends are actually I met a lot of my friends in bands.
fair, very fair. And so then obviously you're in Nashville or based in and around Nashville now. How's Nashville changed you as a musician?
It's challenged me, which has been a good thing.
Hmm.
So I think it kind of forces you to just jump in and do it.
Mm,
Um, and then it forces you to get better because everybody's so talented. So you're
fair.
not only learning and growing from them and but you're also like, okay, well, if I want that opportunity, I've got to like level up. So it's definitely like helped me in that regard. When I moved here, I definitely was not really ready for things.
Hmm.
But I also didn't know how to get ready and I didn't really know where to start. So I just like
Yeah.
dove in and I probably lost some gigs because I didn't know what I was doing. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it made me like step up my game and get
Mm,
better. And then, it led to more opportunities. So
mhm.
um yeah, it's kicked my butt, but it's also been great.
Yeah. You say it may have cost you some gigs initially, but I would almost argue that it probably helped you get more gigs later on because like I've definitely been in similar situations like going on job interviews and stuff where I've sent like when I was younger it was like applications and just like pitching myself to managers and stuff and it wasn't the best presentation because I didn't spell check my resume, like whatever it
Yeah.
is. And then I come back 7 years later and my resume is perfect. I'm just like clean cut and I know exactly what I'm doing. And they're like,
Hmm.
oh, yeah, I want to hire this guy because I remember talking to him 7 years ago and he didn't know damn bit of anything. And now he's like sharp as a nail. So,
Right, right. And I think sometimes you kind of have to like put yourself in situations that are a little above where you are
yeah.
and then kind of arise to the occasion.
Yep.
Because I think I kept being like, oh, I'll go after this gig once I'm like, I've got these set of songs like polished and ready and
Hmm.
you know, either would run out of time to practice more or just like would get stuck or would try to be a perfectionist and would just
Yep.
never like get out and do it. And I think just that was the biggest thing. You just got to get out there and do it, and then you get better.
Yep. 100%. I agree 100%. So, um, but yeah, so outside of music, obviously you've been we talked it a little bit ago, you've been sick for like the last week or so, but outside of music, what have you been exploring? Have you been trying any new hobbies recently, or since you've been sick, have you rekindled old passions with like stuff that you used to do before?
Well, since I've been sick, no, I've either slept or watched TV
Fair.
or worked because I'm kind of a workaholic. So I kind of tend to send emails and just do all that
Hmm.
kind of things. So that takes up most of my time. Sadly, I should do more things. Um, I kind of go through phases, and I'm one of those people that gets into a little bit of everything.
Fair.
Sometimes I've been trying to get a little bit into like leather tooling and making
Huh.
some like earrings and stuff. So that's
Nice.
something I'm exploring, but I only do it every so often. I've got a puzzle started. Never
Fair.
been a puzzler, but I have a puzzle. And I go through phases where I read a lot and then I
Hmm.
don't read at all. I'm kind of in a don't read at all phase right now.
Fair.
Um, but I love playing with my dog. It's like on a daily basis is probably my
Fair.
biggest thing.
Nice.
Like play with my dog, hang out with my husband, we
Yeah.
watch TV, um, go out to eat, things like that.
Fair.
But yeah, music and writing and, and working is kind of revolves around that.
Nice. I you just kind of prompted this question, and I'm kind of interested to see what the response is. You said you go through these phases of being a heart or like a reader and then not reading at all. Do you find that you're more productive as far as being a songwriter when you're in a reading phase or a non-reading phase?
Ooh, I think when I'm in a reading phase, I would
Hmm.
say. Because I think for me, sometimes it takes like for me to read or to
Mm,
enjoy reading, I have to like force myself to like not work and just to like be present
mhm.
and just sit down and
Yeah.
enjoy that
Yeah.
creativity
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
that storyline. And it also gives you juice of things and ideas to write about. And I think sometimes whenever I'm in that hustle bustle culture, it's hard sometimes to switch into that creative brain.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Fair, fair. I see. I was really because in my head, it's like I could see it either way, where it's like,
mhm.
oh yeah, I'm in a reading phase. I'm getting all these kind of inspirations, and then it's like now you're not in a reading phase. Oh wait, now I've got all these ideas because my brain's not being consumed by a million other different things. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I've
and I don't know that it's a drastic change, but
mhm,
I think overall I'd say maybe a little bit more in a reading phase, but
mhm.
yeah, it just depends.
Would you say that maybe your songwriting gets a little bit more quirky when you're reading, or is it all
Hmm.
pretty just kind of
I wouldn't say that. No,
okay?
I think it just
Okay.
depends.
Fair. Just it was a thought that popped into my mind, and I was like, "Yeah, I got her on the mic. Let's ask." So
I'm just a quirky person in general,
fair.
so yeah. So my writing just tends to be quirky. Um, and when it's not like it's usually I don't like to write I don't like to write general a lot,
Mm,
if that makes sense. Like I can and I will explore other subject matter, especially when
mm,
I'm writing for other artists. Um, but when I'm writing for myself, like I I like songs that say or do something quirky or different, whether
mhm.
that's like sad or happy or something in between. Like I just I don't like I don't know vanilla songs, if that
Fair.
makes sense.
Yeah. Fair. 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 Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
I do, I do.
Did you
Um,
end up recording it or anything? Or
um, I no, I didn't
mm,
release it or like record it officially. I think I have like a recording of it
yeah.
somewhere, but not like officially in the studio. No.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah, I wrote it in high school, I think, freshman year with my guitar teacher.
Mm,
I think I dabbled in writing before, but that was my first like formal, like, okay, I
yeah.
have chords,
Yeah.
I like intentionally wrote a song. Um, so yeah, so I did that with my help of my guitar teacher, Tony Altora. Um, and then sang it at like a little showcase. And gosh, I wore that song out for a long time.
Nice. 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 It, I had a guest on the podcast yesterday. We were talking about a similar situation like this about like early songs that they went back and revisited. And I was so I brought this up to mention to you about if you remember anything about that song to maybe go back and revisit it to see if there's anything that you can take away from it for future music because even like I understand like obviously or I understand the subject matter may be a little bit younger since you were in high school or freshman in high school and whatnot, but I'm sure
Hmm.
there's like a chord progression or like a lyric that's like, oh, that's kind of an interesting lyric, just something like that. So
And I have gone back to some older songs and done that
yeah,
or made notes of like, okay, if I could pull this into a
yeah,
new song or that. But that first song I probably won't.
fair, fair,
Just
fair,
because actually like I sang that one for a long time and I think it'll never be a commercial song, but it's just kind of special to me
fair,
as is because
yeah,
it was that first song.
fair,
So yeah, I think it was that phase of my life and we can just leave it there.
fair, fair, fair. I've got some stuff like that where it's like, yeah, that could stay over there. I'm good.
I am
Because
not ashamed of it. Like I think at that time it was a great song.
yeah,
And it's not that there's not stuff I could take and use for
mm,
a new song. It's just I don't see a need
yeah,
that that was a yeah,
yeah,
it's just a bittersweet memory
fair.
thing.
Gotcha. I'm glad you're not ashamed of it because I have some early on projects that I'm a million percent ashamed of. Like they were comedy. Like I used to produce like films and stuff like that, and comedies with punchlines that were so raunchy and dirty that it was just like, yo, what were you trying to say back then? Like, cool it, homie. So yeah,
No,
it's
I
it,
think, some of them are cheesy and lame, but
yeah,
it is what it is. It's all part of I mean, that's kind of what we were saying before is you kind of just have to do it. And
yeah,
especially with songwriting, like if I stopped anytime something was like stupid or bad, like sometimes you just got to write through it and just finish
yeah,
the song and then move on to the next thing.
yeah.
And that's okay.
Sometimes you just gotta write it to clear your head of it and
Hmm.
forget about it because you'll sit there and think about it for another 6 months and then it's like you missed like four other songs in the meantime.
Yeah. Yeah.
So awesome, awesome. Well, once again, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us. I'm really excited for the full project. The music video. We didn't even really talk about the music video, but I always love a good independent music video. So I'm really excited to see that. I'm just really can't wait to see how 2024 rolls out. Wow, I almost missed that one up. I said almost about ready to say 2023, and I'm like, oh, yep. So, but just kind of, I'm really excited to see how 2024 rolls out for you, and all the new music, the album, and all that fun stuff. So,
Yeah, thank
um,
you so much. I'm pumped. It's gonna be good.
nice. And so is the plan to kind of continue to play around Nashville right now, or are you hoping to kind of expand out a bit, or?
Both.
Okay.
I think I'm playing in Nashville till about the end of February, and then I have little tour in Florida
Okay.
with Kirsty Kraus, and
Hmm.
then got a North Carolina show, and I've already got some shows set up in North Carolina, and I think Mississippi, Panama City,
Hmm.
um, Louisville, Kentucky. So we've already
Nice.
got some traveling planned out, and definitely more to be added. So it's kind of a mix of both. I like to go on like either like a weekend or
Mm,
half a week, or
yeah.
like a week or two tour,
Hmm.
and then come back for a little bit and like stay home for a
Yeah.
few weeks, and then kind of go back and forth. So
Fair. Texas. You need to add Texas.
actually, I think we're coming to Texas in November.
Nice. Awesome. That's actually a really good time to come to Texas because it's not flipped to be so cold, but it's also not like ungodly hot. So
I think we're going to be in like Austin, San Antonio, and Galveston.
perfect. Austin's like an hour and a half away from me. So we'll
Thanks.
have that conversation as we get closer. So,
Awesome.
oh, but once again, really, really appreciate you. If anybody wants to check out your music, catch a show, or stay on top of a show that may be coming near them, where's the best place to find you?
My website, crystalkingmusic.com with a K, and all my socials are Crystal King Music. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.
I thank you.
Bye. Cool. Stop.